How's it going, my friends? Carpo here. Cheers. Got some coffee. My evening cup. And for some reason, coffee always tastes better in the evening. With my trusty vape. I just had a friend over, actually, and I was just discussing some things about life. There we go. Sorry, the window was open. You know, my professional style videos. Raw life, right? We were talking, some people get it. They're wise. They understand what life is all about. And that's the Zen type attitude of, not laughing at life, but realizing that it is completely what you make of it. The Tao or the Way is another good way to describe it. The idea that, each person's going to have their own path, and they may conflict, we may cross paths with others, and that we're all basically just doing the best we can. But complaining, groveling, playing the victim, all of these things, they get you nowhere. They only cause more problems in life. They serve to push people away. In other words, like if you're having a bad time, then that's fine. You can console in friends and family, but when you're always having a bad time, it makes it hard. And the idea that this sonder, that word, comes up again, and that's the realization that everyone has a life as rich and complex as yours, and that sometimes we fail to realize that. There tends to be a condition that people have where they feel like everyone else is actors in a play in their life. And whether we know we do it or not, it may be subconscious, but a lot of people do it. In the sense that if you call a friend and you need help, and they can't help you move one day or something, you may think, oh, that's selfish, what a jerk. And I'm just making an example. I mean, most people would realize, well, maybe they have something else to do, but some people are so selfish that if they can't get a person to help them or do something for them right away, then they grovel and complain about it and say that nobody, is there when they need them. Reality is that other people have lives too, and they may be doing other things. And, while people do want to help each other and assist one another, sometimes it doesn't work out. But some people do pick out each one of those things as if they're always picked on and that nobody will help them. But just realizing that life is rich and complex and that we all have different lives is what allows us to get past the small stuff and to laugh off little things that happen to us, even if we get cut off on the freeway. Somehow this morning got onto road rage videos. I ended up was watching. I don't know how I got there. You know how YouTube is, and I was watching these guys get out of their cars and beat the shit out of each other over just a silly arrogance while driving. And it's. I know how pissed off you can get with people being rude, but the idea is to get past that and realize that you suffer the most. If you're in your car and somebody pulls some shit and you get angry and you honk at them and you curse and, you're the one who's suffering. I realized this in years past. I don't like seeing people abusing their position in the world, not just in driving, anywhere. People who cut in line or steal from others or do things that are not right, in my eyes anyway. I've always been quick to speak up on that, but over the years come to realize how different people are and the different reasons people have for doing the things they do and saying the things that they do, and that we are all different, and that everyone deep down inside is a good person, most of us, okay, and that want the best. Even in the current election cycle, two sides that are more diametrically opposed than ever before, yet both sides tend to want just a better life for themselves and their families and those around them. Just people believe in different paths in getting there. Same thing happens with religion. The Christians and Muslims fighting each other when both of them have equal ground to stand on as far as the validity of their beliefs. And they go back and they attack, Muhammad did this or Jesus did that. And you get past it. All that matters is it benefiting you? And that's to the meat and potatoes. The root of the problem is your victimization helping you, or is your knowledge helping you, or is your belief helping you? That's a very important, crucial aspect to look at. what do your views do to help you in your life? And I use that to help me realize when I have something that maybe isn't a useful belief. I mean, I can believe that crystals hold power, let's say, but unless I'm using that power, it doesn't do much good to research it and find out that there's not a lot to go on as far as how that works. If I could probably think of a lot more examples if I sat and wrote it down, but right now I don't want to get into that aspect of it. I just wanted to touch base on the idea that the wisdom that we were talking about was the wisdom of knowing that you need to live life with a childlike wonder and amazement, but with an adult and rational and reasoning mind. But never let reason rule, or, nobody ever does construction in my neighborhood, but I guess 8 at night is the time to do it. I don't hold shit against people. People just are who they are, and I know that everyone has their own faults and their own strengths and weaknesses, and that we're all just folks. It's a crazy thing to be alive in this world. Just existence is in itself a very complex thing. Life itself is hard to define, impossible to define, and we get so tied up in trying to name and label things, anthropomorphize everything, and make it understandable that we miss it sometimes. If you want to know what God is, don't try to define it. Just live in it. If you want to know what happiness is, don't try to define it. Just live in it. You have to create your own reality. And the one thing that I was discussing earlier was with the idea that everything is relative in life. There's very little in life that isn't relative. I guess I haven't really tried to even attempt to think of anything that isn't relative. If you've been in pain, we were talking about somebody who had been in pain, and she was complaining all the time on the phone to my friend, but this person was still able to function and get things done. Whereas for me personally, I've had friends talk to me on the phone, that they complain about how much pain they're in, but they're still working or driving around. And I'm like, look, I've been laid out with sciatica so bad that I couldn't even get into the bathtub. I needed help. I was laying there on the floor naked and just going, oh, level 9 pain, if not 10. It's being humbled, 9. And so I understand, what it's like to be in pain. So when other people try to compare that, when I can't compare it to others' pain because their pain is relative to what they're used to. That's what I mean by relative. A small broken finger may drive somebody completely bonkers and maybe just be, whereas another person loses their legs and they go along with their day, so to speak. Because if we've been through a lot of turmoil, whether physical or mental, then we learn to cope a lot better. And this is why the person who's had the most adversity lives the richest life, I believe. We always hear about people who we think of as brave and strong and famous people. These are people who have faced adversity, right? I mean, think of all your heroes. Think of any one hero that you admire, one person that you admire. It's most likely a person who's overcome some harsh hurdles in their life and had to go through a lot of crap to get to where they are. Hopefully, Some people just idolize a person who's rich because they're rich and their father was rich and their father was rich and because they want to be rich. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about truly admiring someone for what they've done. And, that's, when we look at that, we can see what kind of values we want to see reflected in ourselves. What can we do to become more like those people? We always there's so much talk about how much we admire those who give and the kindness and sharing, and we try to say that we have these values of wanting to help others and less fortunate, and it's even considered to be a root of the Christian faith, which is supposed to be 80% of our country. But at the same time, many of those same people are screaming socialist, socialist, and they say they hate what this country's become, and we shouldn't have to pay other people's health care, and this is where it gets into very touchy ground with people, but, you know, the idea that we help one another, you know, it's okay. It seems to be okay as long as we're not forced to do it. And that's the thing. People don't really do it as much on their own as they should. But no, we shouldn't be forced to do it either. And we live in a very tough situation where we don't know. We're in a climate where we don't know, should we assist the poor and help our elders and our young? Or should we just throw everybody to the wolves and say, deal with it? Because, you know, there's so much abuse going on of privilege out there that if we don't have some sort of an oversight, then we end up getting screwed. Literally screwed. I mean, the people who have it the worst in some regards are the middle class, in the sense that if you're extremely poor, you can usually apply for government grants or get assistance with housing or with schooling or with food stamps. And if you're very rich, you can just pay for all that shit out of your pocket. If you're in the middle class, you can't afford $1,500 a month for health care and the $1,000 deductible that it entails, you know. And we say, why not? And we say, because the system's set up that way. So the big companies can make more money. So then the more companies should pay more money into taxes, right? So who knows? You know, the whole thing is complex. And you see, this is how it goes. I started talking about, you know, this idea of understanding that life is a joke, that life is zen, life is to be enjoyed. You have to always enjoy it. But it doesn't mean you have to ignore the complexity of what's going on. Things are deep. It doesn't mean you have to get overwhelmed by that, though. It means you have to carefully analyze what's going on around you and say, how can I make the best decision that I think is the best decision for my country, for my people, for my family, for myself? And I guess each person has to decide that in all realms of their life. Politics, religion, where they work, you know, whether they get married, whether they have kids, what types of hobbies they have, and, you know, how much they want to help their fellow man. And I'll tell you one last thing here is that, you know, in regards to helping others, people are much more likely to want to help others when they're doing okay themselves. But it seems like when people are doing well to an extreme extent, they seem to detach from their community and become rich people. And I don't want to put it that way, but the rich communities tend to mingle together, okay? And this is just the way it is, you know. But those folks who get extremely rich are less likely, it seems, to give away more of that, as if the wealth has become the defining factor of who they are. And it's sad to see, and it's their right to do whatever they want with their money, but my point being is that the people who just have a little extra, who know how hard it's been, and who have been there, are more likely to give the guy in the corner $20, or, you know, take a guy out to eat, because we want to see people do well. And we know that a social community that's happy and healthy is more productive, and therefore long term, if we're willing to put a little bit of money into our people to help others, to show that we care, and we show we care about each other, then people will start to care about their position, about their world, about their communities more. You know, if we don't feel like we're part of something, we're more likely to just kick rocks and just go, huh, and just act like brats about it, you know. So bring someone into your team. I guess that's all I can say. If you understand what I'm getting at here, bring more people into your team. And I don't mean a team that's against anyone, but a team of, you know, maybe it would be better, not even a group, just... And it's not about convincing people or swaying people to believe what you believe. What it is it means that if you know somebody out there who, say, is a good friend, that has a completely opposing view to yours, maybe you're a Trump supporter and they're a Hillary supporter, or something more extreme, if there is anything more extreme, but you could get into a completely brutal debate on it and tell them that you think their points are stupid, but just be careful not to tell them that they're stupid. That's something that we're all learning. We don't need to degrade each other, because ultimately it is us, the people, against them, you know, the establishment. We don't have any real say in what goes on in there. We can vote and we can try to get in local officials and work our way up the ladder, but as far as us being together, the most important thing is to be together as a people. And that means, yes, right and left wing. It also means Christian and Muslim in some regards. And it also means nation to nation, you know? And maybe I'm getting into some brotherly love bullshit, and a lot of people think, that's just a pipe dream, you know? Well, I say, that's my pipe dream, you know? If there's anything that I'd love to see in the future, it would be an understanding between one another, where we can kind of put down the guns for a minute, so to speak, just like they've done in battle. You know, there's a Christmas ceasefire, I believe it was in World War I, when everybody was in the trenches, and both two sides from the battle, they put down their weapons and they all ate dinner together. I think it was on Christmas. But this has happened so many times in war, and it's a good extreme version of what goes on in daily life. You and I might be at odds on what we believe, but in the end we can set down our arms and have a civil discussion, because ultimately we all desire just a good life, you know? No one really cares which one of their elected officials wins. It's not about the person that we're electing. It's about the values that we're trying to put in there. And the same thing with the religion. Nobody really cares which God you believe in. All that they care about is which types of values are behind those beliefs. And there's a lot of misunderstanding out there about what certain, beliefs entail, Arguments about whether or not Muhammad was a good man that respected women, or a man who with, several wives, or whether Jesus was really hung on the cross, whether he was crucified with nails or hung with rope, the silly little things that we get into. It's not about the people. It's never been about the people. It's about the stories. It's about the metaphors. And if you're going to take religion for anything, it should be for the metaphors, because there are so many to learn. And when we understand the yearnings of man and how we get into the situations we're in, that kind of knowledge is very useful. So when I analyze each thing I learn and say, is this useful knowledge, a lot of it's garbage. And that's why I've delved away from the conspiracy theories. They don't serve me. They don't make me happy or improve my life at all. I guess the best I've learned about end times prophecy was, how to prep, I guess, and get prepared. I've got some dry food and whatnot, and so I feel confident that if anything happened, I'd be okay, be fine. I'm wise, but I'm not going to sit and worry about it. And there was a time when I would actually get up every morning and go online and see, hey, where was the latest earthquake? Are there any solar flares to look out for? Because I was in that mindset, and I don't want to be in that mindset, so I stopped. And now I'm in the mindset of reminding myself, kicking myself in the ass, metaphorically, every time I start to think negatively or move away from enjoying and really revering life. It can happen for a brief moment. You might be kind of down in the morning and think, oh, and then nope, it's not going to happen. I was telling my friend earlier how I de-stress, and they were like, how do you do that? How do you de-stress? It's like it takes years. It's a matter of progressively improving the way you think and trying not to impose too much on others by, not stressing about things that you should be. Like, I'm sure my wife probably drives her nuts that I don't stress about some things that I should. And I think that a little bit of stress and anxiety is what pushes us to succeed and do better, too. But that's just the thing. What is success? How do you gauge success? Do you really think that money is success? I mean, if you have 3 kids at home and you're gone 12 hours a day, is that really success? Or if you have 3 mansions but you can only live at one, is that success? And beyond the money aspect, just being famous seems to be success for some people. But all of it is empty. They're all empty shells, empty promises. Because the only thing that will truly make you happy are values and morals that are in your heart, the only thing that can never be taken from you. So anytime you're questioning whether something is really valuable, truly valuable, and not just temporary, can it be taken away from you? And you'll find that the best things in life are always free. Have a good night, everybody, and love y'all.